Hello, we are live. Happy Tuesday. Good morning to me and to the rest of you, wherever you are in the world. Receive my greetings according to your time zone. How has everybody been doing? I haven't made it here for, I think last week I was not able to make it here, but I'm so happy to be here once again. I've missed you all. Anybody missed me? Anybody missed Betty Small? My name is Betty Small. For those who are coming across me the first time, my name is Betty Small. My page is Learn and Grow with Betty Small. I have my own page, yeah. But I do come here on Amma Manson Show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I present different topics, mainly about mindset, health, what we can do to make our health better by first of all adjusting our mindset. I also talk about productivity and stuff like that. So, yeah, if you want to check me out on my page, I believe there's a link there in the comments. You are more than welcome to check me out. And I do have some videos also on my channel. So, feel welcome. I don't know how the volume is working because I'm using the earphone, so please let me know if I am audible enough. If not, we'll make adjustments accordingly. So I don't know if there's anybody here yet, but even if there is not, we just gonna keep on going. And hopefully the nuggets that we learn today will take us a step closer in terms of having better life, better relationships with our family members and the people that we interact with in general. I don't see the topic headlines, but the topic that we are going to talk about today is relationship red flags and green lights. Of course, I don't know if you're able to, usually you're able to put for me a headline and it's kind of like at the bottom. If you're able to do that, I would appreciate it so that whoever is coming in, they can have an idea of what we're talking about. Yeah, so last time I talked a little bit about the emotional intelligence, knowing about our friends, and knowing who are the people in our lives and where exactly they need to fit in our bus. Okay. We talked about the fact that each one of us has a bus. Okay. You are in charge of that bus, you're in charge of your life and the people that you bring on board your bus. You are the determinant of who's going to be your co driver. You are the determinant who's going to be sitting right behind you. Thank you. You are awesome. You're going to be the determinant who's going to be sitting right behind you, as well as who's going to sit at the very back. Okay. You have to sit people in your life strategically. You can't just sit people randomly because whoever you're putting as your core driver must be somebody that you know for sure you can count on no matter what. Okay. Because these are people that you should have tried and tested and known that no matter what, this person got my back. Okay. And you use that same criteria as you go on placing people different places in your bus. Okay. Now, the people at the very back of your bus, we're not saying like they are bad people, but maybe you just haven't had enough experiences with them to move them closer. Okay. And so they are still your friends, maybe they are still family members, maybe they are still neighbors, co-workers, whatever the case may be, but you haven't had enough experiences with them in order for you to grade them a little higher, bring them a little closer to you. Okay. We just don't meet people randomly and boom, put them at the top there. That's going to screw you up in the long run. You have to put people through the fire, you have to put people through the test. You can't just be trusting of everybody that you come across and say, oh, they have a good heart, or I have a good heart, or however people like to put it. They don't want to be judgmental and anything like that, you can put it however you want to put it. But at the end of the day, you are responsible for the people that you bring in your life, okay? And how that's going to affect you and the relationship in the long run. Okay, how that relationship is going to affect you and them in the long run. But most importantly, you, not necessarily them. Okay. So in line with that, so I figured out today, why don't we talk about some of the red flags? Okay. I give you guys red flags and green lights. And so in today's episode, we mainly gonna talk about relationships across the board. I'm not gonna talk about just romance because there's a tendency to just, narrow down on romance relationships whenever we are talking about red flags and green lights and stuff like that. But we have relationships with people across the board. Okay, we have a relationship with our siblings, with our parents, with our co-workers, with our neighbors, with the people at church. Uh, we have relationship with friends, different kinds of relationships. Okay, so there are some general rules, okay, that apply across the board. Now, next time, hopefully on Thursday, we can dive deeper just and focus a little bit on just like romantic relationships. But today, let's just talk in general. You know, uh, when you're at work, there's that person that you call your friend, okay? And I gave you guys an example last time of how a person that I called a friend at work, and I carried over that friendship from work, to outside work, and we would get together with this person that I called a friend of mine. We would hang out, and come to think of it now, that should have been a red flag for me because this lady never, ever, ever invited me to her house. We always went over to my house or met at a restaurant or at the gym because she used to do workouts and she used to do nice, nice Zumba classes, which I used to enjoy. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, she actually never invited me to her house. And all the times that we had to meet, if it was outside of the gym, it was always at my house. And that's a red flag. Because a friend, somebody that you call a friend, whether it's a coworker or a neighbor or um, a supervisor, or whoever, if you're calling that person a friend, then there should be that mutual, like, okay, you can come to my house today. Oh, okay, we'll meet at your house tomorrow. Yeah, so talk about red flags. My goodness, I totally missed that one. It just clicked in my mind now, like, yeah, she never invited me to her house. Oh, I have grown, Betty. I have grown. Nowadays, I'm able to spot those red flags a little bit faster and sooner than I used to be before. I used to be that kind of a person that is nice, forgiving, believing that everybody is in it for the good, forgetting that people are self serving and all they want to do is get what they can get out of you. Okay. And whether that drains you and they take everything from you, they don't care because that's their goal. Okay. So let's talk about the red flags. Okay. One of the red flags, like I just used that example. If somebody is not willing to be open enough to share their space with you, and I'm just talking about, in this case, it was my coworker, they were not willing to share that space. They were willing to come to my space or to meet at another mutual place, but not at her house. That should have been a red flag that should have just gone off for me and be like, hey, why is this person not inviting me to their house? Why? But I wasn't as emotionally intelligent in terms of looking out for the red flags and the green lights as I am now. Sometimes, I've come to believe that experience, experience is the best teacher. Not all the time that we want to go through experiences in order for you to make something out of it. Of course, sometimes you just want to hear it from somebody else and take advantage of that. But sometimes, I guess, for the message to really, really hit home, it has to happen to you. And then all the antennas go up and your brain starts thinking and connecting and start making sense of all the ABCDs that happened in between you and that person, and then it start making sense. But for me, honestly, I don't regret having gone through that experience, because that experience really made me mature up in terms of my relationship with other people. Okay, I was so open and loving, and like I say, I thought all people were good and they meant good. Okay, but I never knew that there are people who just get into relationships and friends with people because they have certain targets that they have to that they, in their mind, they have to accomplish or get from you. And once they do that, they dump you. You're never good enough. Okay, so that was one thing for me. The fact that she was not able to share her space with me should have been a red flag. Okay, so red flag number one: person not being able to be open enough to share their space with you, to let you know where they live. you know they just want you to meet in public places, and or meet in your residence, but never wanting to show you where they actually live. That is a problem, and I should have been more open to that. But like I say, I wasn't emotionally intelligent, mature enough at that time. But now I know better. Okay. Then you find people who are just suspicious. Okay. And maybe this can apply more in romantic relationship, but in any case, if you have a friend, a neighbor, a co-worker, a family member, whoever, that is always suspicious about what you're doing. They're always thinking that you don't have their best interest in them, even when you know good and well that all the interest that you have in them is good. But maybe because of their past experiences and what they have experienced from other people, they just don't believe that what you're doing is for their own good. Okay. So if you find somebody that is always suspicious of what you're doing, they're tracking you, where you are, what you're doing with who and when. Even if you're doing something beneficiary to them, they're still not like receptive of that. They're like, why are you doing that? So yeah, if you find somebody and you notice that they're being suspicious of you, whether you're doing something for them or you're doing something for somebody else, and they're always behind you on your neck, trying to look in what you're doing, always suspicious, not a good idea. Whether it's for romantic relationship or just, relationships of other kind, your coworkers, your friends, your neighbors, or anything like that. If you find somebody that is always very suspicious of what you're doing, you do not want to be with that person. And we all have this, what do we call it? The gut feeling. You know, some people really dismiss that, but I strongly believe there is a reason why we have that part of us. Because sometimes reasoning just goes out the window, but then there is that still small voice, okay, the gut feeling that some people call, that tells him, I don't think that's good. I don't think you should go that way. Or I don't feel right about this person. Sometimes, what we tend to do is just like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's just a feeling. I already know how I feel about this person, and I don't want to be distracted, or I don't want to have any negative feelings attached to that person. And so you kind of like block it out, right? Well, it may be not until sometime down the line then things start coming up and you're like, oh, okay. So this makes sense why I had that gut feeling, why I had that still small voice telling me that, this is not the person to be with, So, yeah, if you start having that gut feeling that this person is suspicious of what you're doing or anything like that, it's time to pump your brakes. And always, always trust your gut feelings. They're never wrong. I guarantee you. In most cases, they are never, never, never wrong. Okay. All right. So, another red flag, people who are dishonest. Okay. Have you ever dealt with somebody who is always giving you a story after story after story? Even if it just means, like, okay, you guys were supposed to meet up for a function, meet up for lunch, or just do some kind of event together. And this person is always coming up with an excuse. Okay, let's say an excuse, but people who blatantly tell you lies and are dishonest about whatever it is that you're inquiring from them, especially when you already know the truth. Okay. Or when they tell you and then you come to find out later that what actually they told you was all lies. Doesn't that hurt? It really, really hurts, especially when you put so much into this person and you believe and trust them, and the whole of you knows, like, okay, this person got my back. And then you come to find out that, oh, all this person was saying was dishonest. Boy, it hurts. Please tell me nobody has ever experienced that. And I'll tell you that you're lying. Unless you have not been like open enough or learning to be emotionally intelligent of your surroundings and the people. But in most cases, you find people who give you a story or they'll tell you something, whether you knew beforehand that what they're telling you is false or you find out later, it hurts. It hurts. And that's a red flag that you need to stay away from that person. Okay. And sometimes it's not about you going to that person and saying, hey, person, we are ending our relationship or we are ending our friendship. You don't have to go through all that. You are the person to figure out, okay, this person has done A, B, C. They lied to me last time about this. I found out later. The next time I knew this was false, but they gave me a different story altogether. So it's up to you now to figure out, like, okay, I can't really trust this person. Okay. So if you had them at your co-driver seat, so guess what now? You're going to start moving them back. Okay. It's up to you if you want to throw them out the bus completely, you know. You have to think about what kind of relationship you have with them, what effect it's going to have if you have to completely end that relationship or friendship, or do you want to kick them at the back of the bus, whereby, you deal with them in very general matters and you limit all the sensitive issues. You don't share that kind of information with them. And then slowly by slowly, people will start to figure out, like, I don't think this friendship of ours is doing very well. Either you're not spending as much time together as you used to spend before, or maybe you're just taking time and delaying replying the messages because, let's be honest, if that person is lying that much to you, then whatever they're telling you, you know, what urgency is there? What urgency is there to reply their emails? I'm not saying like be mean, but I'm just trying to be real honest here. If somebody has proved to you that they are being dishonest one, two, three occasions, You can either, like I said, dispose them, or if you choose them to keep them in your bus, just turn it all the way down. Minimal interactions. If it gets to a point where the friendship dies, it dies. It is what it is. They contributed in the end of that to the end of that relationship, and you don't have to feel any remorse for that. Okay? There is plenty of people in this world that you're going to meet that are going to meet the criteria that you're looking for. Okay? So we're talking about the green lights. We're talking about people who are honest, people who, tell you everything as it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Whether you choose to believe what they say or whether you act on it, it's up to you. But they are open enough to give it to you as it is, and you do with it as you please. Just finding that balance between, okay, I'm not telling you this to offend you, but I'm just telling you this because you're my friend, okay? And I need to be honest with you no matter what it is. Those are the kind of people that you need in your life, that they can give it to you, tell you straight up, you know, no matter how it is. If that's going to mean that your friendship or your relationship is going to go down the hill, then so be it. But at least you'll always regard them with high, you hold them at a high regard. Why? Because they told you the truth just the way it is. And you can always live with that. Okay. Then let's talk about people who are trustworthy. We talked about dishonest people, right? So now let's talk about, green light, people who you can trust on. If you ask somebody to do a simple task for you and they do it with everything in them, okay, and they do it to the very T, and sometimes they go over and above, and this also works like when you have like a business and you have um, people that work under you, okay, your employees. Trust is a big thing here, okay, because you cannot be there to monitor every single second of your business, who is doing what at what time. So at some point, you have to engage some level of trust of your employees and hope and trust that what they're doing is what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. That they're not embezzling funds, that they're not um, misappropriating funds, that they're not, just misappropriating time and doing things that they're not supposed to do on the clock or the time when they're supposed to be working for you. Right. So, yeah, trust is a big deal here, especially when you have a business and you have employees. And of course, this also applies like in romantic relationship and in, you know, lady to lady relationship, man to man relationship, whoever friends that you have, co-workers or whatever. When you can have some level of trust in that person and you know without a doubt, of course we can know without a doubt, we're not God, but to the best of your knowledge that this person will do what is right regardless of whether you are looking or not, then yeah, this is a person to keep in your life. This is a person to keep in your life. All right, so we are still discussing the topic of emotional intelligence, and we are still talking about how can we improve ourselves to be a little bit more intelligent about the surroundings, about the people in our lives, okay? How can we know the red flags and what are some of the green lights that will tell you, okay, this is a good person. Let's keep going down this road. Or the red flags that make you say, no, I'm not sure this is the kind of person that I want to keep around in my life. Or, okay, that's one chance, let me wait and see if they're going to screw me again. If that wasn't such a big deal that they screwed you up in, you may want to choose to give them another chance or something like that. Okay. Yeah. So the biggest one for me, really, it's um let me talk about a red flag. Yeah, being a poor conflict resoluter. Okay, let's face it, there are going to be conflicts all the time, whether it's with your spouse, with your fiance, with your coworker, with your supervisor, with your siblings, with your parent, whoever it is. There's always going to be conflicts in one way or another, misunderstanding, name it, whatever you want to call it. The question now becomes, are you able to resolve conflicts that you have amicably without destroying each other? Because to me, that's the biggest determinant of whether whatever relationship I have or friendship that I have with somebody is going to keep going or it's going to stop. Or I'm just going to throw you at the end of the bus and just kind of ignore you. Okay. Because we got to have a way to resolve our differences because we're going to disagree at some point, whether it's your employee, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your sibling or your parent. At some point, you're going to have some misunderstanding. The question becomes, how do we resolve this misunderstanding amicably and still have respect for one another? Okay, and be able to move on past that without destroying each other, without having so much hate, without, you know, going overboard and just shutting doors on each other. That is the big one for me. We have to be able to have a conversation when things have gone wrong. We have to be able to have a conversation and at least arrive to some kind of understanding. Whether we understand, like, okay, this is bad, we are not going this way, or okay, we are not even going to deal with this anymore. But we have to be able to have a way of having that conversation where there's no yelling and throwing all these words that you can't take back, that, cut through right through the heart, that you're not getting physically aggressive, you're not yelling or you're not like shutting down, refusing to talk. Because I mean, if you're shutting down and you're refusing to talk, where is the conversation gonna go? Okay. So, like I said, that's a big one for me. If we have a difference, we need to be able, whether we are sitting down over coffee, whether we are going to stand up across the room from each other, the fact that we can keep a level tone, so no yelling, the fact that we can keep a clean language, okay, the fact that we can keep our hands to ourselves, okay, no physical abuse, and talk to me and don't be defensive, okay. All these are things that we can learn to apply in our lives because trust me, you're going to be in a conflict with somebody. I'm sure all of us have been in a conflict with somebody at some point. Okay. Now, you can't control what the other person is going to do or is going to say. And that's why we are talking about the red flags here. If that person is not able to handle that situation and they're not talking to you with respect, they are being physically abusive, they are yelling, throwing things across the room, okay? They are going silent on you. You know, those friends who you had a misunderstanding and just shut you off for days, and they just don't talk to you. So those kind of people, no, we are not dealing with that. And it's amazing. Like maybe when I was younger, I used to deal I used to deal with that kind of stuff. but I guess as you get older, you're like, no. Mm-mm. If you can't even have a meaningful conversation with me, if we can't sit down and figure out where the problem was, and let's try to figure out a solution going forward, then I really don't want to waste my time here. Because what are we doing? Who is this benefiting? Who, matter of fact, it's wasting my time that I could have applied onto something that would have brought me so much joy now or later. So if you can't have a conversation with me and let's resolve our conflict maturely with respect, and actually the time factor has everything to do with here to me. If something goes wrong, please don't take forever to come so that we can fix the problem. The sooner that we can get to it, the better. I know people always say, like, oh, time heals and stuff like that. But for me, the sooner that we can get to the bottom of the matter and squash whatever it was or fix it, if it's fixable, yeah. But I don't want to prolong something over months, over a year, not knowing, like, okay, what are we doing in this friendship or relationship, whatever it is. I don't want that. I don't want something, I don't want that burden on me, carrying it around and not knowing what is going to be of that friendship or relationship or whatever it is. It's a waste of time. You could have been doing something very meaningful with that time that you're passing over there. So, yeah, conflict resolution. If they're not able to do conflict resolution, they are yelling, they're shouting, they are kicking, they are throwing things across the room, they are refusing to talk to you, honey, deuces. No, I'm not dealing with you. I am not dealing with you, I promise. There are some things that are just not acceptable to me. Okay. And we can deal with the, respect and the trust and all that. Because let's face it, if somebody has been disrespectful to you, the fact that you can sit down and have a chat about it, and they can understand where you were coming from and what it is that hurt them, that what it is that was disrespectful to them. If they can have that conversation and have that understanding, and they know, okay, going forward, this is not acceptable, well and good. That's the conflict resolution that I'm talking about there. Now, on the other hand, if they are being disrespectful and you feel like, okay, you're not talking to me like you should talk to me like a grown up. If they're yelling, okay, or treating you like a small kid, if you're able to sit down and have a conversation and make them understand, like, hey, I really didn't like what you said. That made me feel a certain type of way. It made me feel like, especially if they're saying it in front of your children, if they're saying it in front of your friends or people that you regard high, and they talk to you like any kind of way, that's going to hurt. The most important thing, though, is if somebody has been disrespectful, if somebody has lost your trust, if somebody has been dishonest to you or something like that, the fact that you can actually have a conversation with it, and have a conversation with them and try to resolve the conflict, to me, that's a plus. But if you're having all these issues and you're not even able to resolve the conflict, then, honey, I am so sorry. I am not going down that lane. Mm-mm, I am not. We are human beings. We have our issues, okay? But we have to have a way of fixing these issues. And that is all about conflict resolution. And if you can't do conflict resolution, then how can I help you? Like, I need to help myself first, okay? By learning how to resolve conflicts better. But if you can't even resolve a conflict, then I'm sorry. We can't go the same path. I'm just going to say deuces, bye bye. you know, Throw you outside my bus. I'm not even going to put you at the back of my bus. You going straight out. Okay. I refuse to deal with that kind of energy. I refuse to deal with people who think that they know it all. They don't want to be apologetic in what they're doing. They just think like they're it. Well, I'm sorry, because in my space, I am it. Okay? Yes. Yeah. Who's here today? Anybody here today as we talk about this subject of emotional intelligence? How to decide who sits where in our bus, the life bus? Okay. How do you decide who's your friend? What level of friendship? Okay. Who's your co driver? Who is going to sit right behind you? Who's going to sit at the very back? And who's not even going to enter that bus? Okay. It's all up to you. You can't just invite anybody into your space like that. Mm-mm. You have to approve them. They have to go through a certain criteria. Okay. Before, when you meet people out there, you put them through a criteria. And if they're doing well and if, they're passing the test, then bring them closer and closer. But you don't have to have a bus full of people that you can't even count on. What sense does that make? It doesn't. You can only have one or two people in your bus who you know that these are my ride or die, that they're going to have my back no matter what. Those are the kind of people that you need. You don't need a full bus of people. Mm-mm. Okay. So watch out for the red flags and yay to the green lights. Okay. People who are trustworthy, people who are respectful, people who are um, honest, people who can resolve conflicts. All those people are welcome in my space. Okay. You're welcome in my space and we can um, grow from there. As long as you are able to resolve conflicts, if we have a conflict, there are the things we can figure out as we go. Okay. I can't tell if there's anybody here today. This monologue, my gosh. Anybody here want to say anything about the red flags? Comments? Yeah. I can't tell if there's anybody. But if not, that's fine with me. I just hope that today I was able to shine some light in terms of being emotionally intelligent and some of the red flags and the green lights that we can apply in our lives and in the people in our lives, friends, neighbors, co-workers, family members, siblings, whoever it is. You can apply these things to them and figure out if they're working or not. Who do you need to bring closer? Who do you need to push back in your bus? And who needs to get out of your bus? Or do you even need anybody in that bus at all? It's all up to you. The decision remains with you. All right, good people. Okay, because I don't see anybody here, I would have loved to engage one or two people. But I know it's still early. I live on the East Coast. There's still people who are waking up in the Central and Pacific and all that. So I totally understand. It's a monologue today, but hopefully we will continue from here on Thursday. But this time we're going to narrow it down to red flags and green lights in romantic relationships. Alrighty? Okay, then. I love you, good people. Once again, if you're coming across this lady here for the first time, my name is Betty Small. Okay. My page is somewhere there on the comments. Learn and Grow with Betty Small. It actually has a link to it. If you want, you can just click on there and you can come find me on my page. I have different videos over there, just different kind of content, hopefully, that can propel you forward. make you a better person. Okay, we are all about growth. We are not staying stagnant. Death, stagnancy is the beginning of slow death. Okay, so you have to keep moving. And I'm not talking about just literal death, I'm talking about mental death and all these other things. So you have to be active, not stagnant. Grow, 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 grow. And that's why my page is Learn and Grow with Betty Small. Okay. Otherwise, it's been nice chatting with you guys here. All right. We will call it a day for now. And I will see you guys on Thursday as we expound more on the red flags and green lights on romantic relationships. How about that? Sounds like a deal? I think so. All right, guys. Bye bye. Have a good day ahead. Talk to you later. Bye bye.